At the airport, my sister smiled disdainfully and said, "We didn't book you a seat. I figured you'd cancel anyway." My parents just laughed and boarded the plane without me. What they didn't know was that the whole trip was on my card. And 10 minutes ago, I canceled it. I'm Mateo, 25 years old, and I've always been the invisible one in my family. I live with my parents, Karen and David, and my older sister, Melissa, in a house on the outskirts of Seattle. Melissa, 28, is a star. She always has been. She's the one who gets the attention, the laughs, the praise. I'm the one who does things without anyone noticing. I work as a freelance graphic designer, earn decent money, and help with household bills. But to them, I'm just furniture, something that's there but doesn't matter. Since childhood, Melissa was the center of everything. She got the best grades, won competitions, and made everyone orbit around her. I wasn't bad. I got good grades, played soccer, had friends. But at home, my achievements didn't count. I remember when I won a writing contest at 10. I wrote a story about a boy who found a treasure. I was proud and showed it to my parents. My dad said, "It's nice," and left it on the table. Then Melissa came home with a swimming trophy, and the house became her stage. My story was forgotten. That's how it always was. She shone. I clapped. We grew up and nothing changed. Melissa graduated with honors, went to a top university, and now works in marketing, where, according to her, she's indispensable. Meanwhile, I built my freelance career. It's not glamorous, but I do well. I pay for my things, contribute to groceries, internet, whatever's needed. I live with my parents because they say it's practical, but I think I stayed because I always hoped they'd truly see me. Notice I was there. Last summer, Melissa came up with an idea, a family trip to Hawaii to reconnect. My parents were thrilled instantly. I was too, honestly. I thought in a new place, away from routine, we could be a real family, not just Melissa's family. She took charge of the itinerary, which beaches to visit, where to eat, what to do. But when it came to reservations, she gave me that smile of hers, the one that says, "You do the work," and asked me to handle everything, flights, hotel, car. As always, I said yes. I spent weeks researching. I found a resort in Maui with ocean views and magazine-worthy pools. I booked premium economy flights for everyone's comfort and rented a car to get around the island. I put it all on my credit card. It wasn't cheap, but it was worth it. I wanted this trip to be perfect. I wanted them to see me. Melissa and my parents said they'd pay me back later, and I believed them. While Melissa posted Instagram stories about heading to paradise with my family, complete with beach photos. Though we hadn't even left yet, my parents shared her posts, commenting proudly, "This will be amazing." I wasn't in those photos or comments, but I stayed quiet. I told myself the trip would change everything. The day arrived. A July morning, Seattle's airport was packed. I was carrying the luggage, as usual. Melissa walked ahead, laughing on her phone. My parents followed, smiling like she was the only reason we were there. I checked everything that morning, for tickets, for seats, all set. But at the counter, the agent scanned my code and frowned. "There are only 3 tickets," she said. "Karen, David, and Melissa. Nothing under your name." I froze. 3? I checked everything. "We're 4. The agent double-checked. "Sorry, sir, only 3. I looked at my parents. My dad shrugged like it was no big deal. My mom laughed nervously. "Well, Mateo, you're always changing plans, aren't you?" Then Melissa turned with that cruel smile she reserved for me. "We didn't reserve a seat for you," she said. "I figured you'd cancel anyway. You always do." My parents laughed like it was a joke. I felt a knot in my chest, rage and pain mixed together. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. Melissa was already walking toward the gate, my parents trailing behind. My dad gave me a pat on the shoulder. "Fix this, Mateo," he said, and they left. I watched them go through security, laughing like I didn't exist. I sat in an airport chair, my suitcase beside me. The agent looked at me with pity, but said nothing. It wasn't just a seat, it was everything. Years of being invisible, putting them first, waiting to be seen. And they laughed, assuming I'd cancel. It wasn't true. I was always there, always helping, but to them, I was nobody. I pulled out my phone and opened the airline app. The reservation was in my name, on my card, hotel, car, everything. And then something in me broke. Not sadness, clarity. With a few clicks, I canceled the flights. Then the hotel. Then the car. In 10 minutes. The trip Melissa had sold as her gift was gone. I grabbed my suitcase and walked to the exit. No guilt. For the first time, I felt in control. In the parking lot, I called Ryan, my best friend since high school. He's always been my anchor, the one who listens when my family makes me feel small. He answered quickly. "Off to paradise, Mateo," he joked. "Not exactly," I replied and told him everything. How they didn't reserve my seat, how Melissa said she assumed I'd cancel, how my parents laughed and left me behind like I was nothing, and how I canceled the flights, hotel, everything. Ryan was quiet for a moment, then burst out laughing. "You're a genius, man. What now?" I had no idea. It had all happened so fast, I hadn't thought beyond hitting cancel. But Ryan, being Ryan, had a wild idea. "Forget them. Let's go to Paris." I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. He hadn't used miles from a work trip. Over coffee near the airport, we booked 2 tickets for the next day. Paris. I'd never considered it, but suddenly it sounded perfect. A place where no one knew me, where I could be myself without my family's weight. That night, I stayed on Ryan's couch. I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to see my parents or Melissa. My phone kept buzzing, messages, calls, notifications. I glanced at a few. "What did you do, Mateo? This is unacceptable. Call us now." I ignored them, turned off my phone, and fell asleep thinking of cobblestone streets and cafes smelling of fresh bread, a world where I wasn't invisible. The next day, Rye and I were back at the airport, but this time was different. I wasn't carrying anyone else's bags. No one was mocking me. Just us, with light backpacks, ready to fly to Paris. As the plane took off, I looked out the window and felt something new. Not just relief, but like I'd shed a backpack full of rocks I'd carried for years. For the first time, I wasn't chasing my family, trying to earn a place. I was doing something for me. Paris was like stepping into a movie. We walked along the Seine, city lights reflecting on the water. We ate croissants in tiny cafes, laughing at nonsense. We visited the Louvre, where I lingered at the Mona Lisa, not because it blew me away, but because I could take my time without anyone rushing me. Ryan was the best companion, always with a joke, a story, or a crazy idea. One night, he insisted we climb the Eiffel Tower at midnight to see Paris lit up. The wind was cold, but the view was incredible. "This is living Mateo," he said with a grin. He was right, but I couldn't ignore my phone forever. On the 3rd day, I turned it on. A flood of messages. Melissa was the worst. "You're so selfish," she wrote. "You ruined the trip with your tantrum." My parents weren't far behind. "This isn't what we taught you, Mateo. Apologize." My dad, "Grow up and fix this." Not a word about leaving me at the airport, about their laughs, about Melissa's smile. It was all my fault, as always. Then I saw Melissa's Instagram post. A photo of her at the airport, sitting with her suitcase, playing the victim. The caption read, "My brother ruined our family trip to Hawaii. Canceled everything because we didn't give him enough attention. So selfish." My parents commented, "What a disappointment, Mateo. Poor Melissa." Her friends chimed in, "How awful. Stay strong, Mel." My blood boiled. Not only did they leave me behind, but now they painted me as the villain, like I was the one who didn't matter. I was in a Montmartre cafe, espresso in hand, when I decided I wouldn't stay silent. I opened Instagram and posted a screenshot of the reservation. Show it was all in my name, paid with my card. I wrote what happened, how I planned the trip, paid for everything, how they didn't reserve my seat, how Melissa said she assumed I'd cancel, how my parents laughed and left me. I ended with, "I'm not the bad guy for standing up for myself. I'm tired of being invisible." Then I turned off my phone and walked with Ryan through Paris's streets. When I turned it back on hours later, my post had blown up, hundreds of likes. Comments from strangers saying they understood, that they'd been through similar things with their families. "You're not the problem," one wrote. "Keep going," said another. Some share their own stories, siblings who overshadowed them, parents who ignored them. I found myself smiling. For the first time, I felt seen, even if by strangers online. Melissa deleted her post, but it was too late. Her friends stopped commenting, and some messaged me privately, saying they didn't know my side. I didn't respond. I didn't need their validation. But I did see a message from my cousin Sarah, who had always been closer to me. "Mateo, what you did was brave. Don't let them make you feel bad." That message gave me strength. I saved it as a reminder I wasn't alone. Paris was changing me. Each day, I felt more confident, lighter. Ryan helped me see things from the outside. One night, over pizza in a small restaurant, he said, "Your family doesn't deserve you, man. You've always held everything together, and they don't even notice. Stop trying." He was right. I'd spent years seeking their approval, doing things to be seen, and always ended up invisible. I started thinking about what I really wanted, not just escaping my family, but building something of my own. Maybe moving out, taking on bigger freelance projects, traveling more. In Paris, everything seemed possible. One afternoon, walking through the Champs-Élysées, Ryan looked at me and said, "You're different, Mateo, like you let something go." And I had, but I knew returning to Seattle wouldn't be easy. My family wasn't the type to let things go. Melissa was probably already plotting how to twist the story, make herself the victim. My parents would likely try to guilt me, make me feel I owed them an apology, and they'd find a way to punish me, like always. Over wine at a bar near Notre Dame, Ryan asked what I'd do when I got back. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I won't be the same. No more favors, no more carrying everything. If they want me out, so be it." Ryan raised his glass. "To the new Mateo." We toasted, and for a moment, I felt I could handle anything. Still, part of me knew the fight wasn't over. Melissa, with her knack for manipulation, was probably already talking to aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, spinning her version. My parents were likely planning how to make me see reason. But for the first time, I wasn't willing to give in. Paris had given me something I'd never had. The certainty that I was worth more than they thought. Looking at the city lights from a bridge over the Seine, I knew what was coming would be tough. Going home meant facing my family, their guilt trips, their attempts to control me. But I was ready. For the first time, I wasn't afraid to say no, to set boundaries, to choose my own path. The flight back was calm, but my mind raced. I knew my family would be waiting, probably with a script to make me feel guilty. Melissa, with her talent for manipulation, had likely already painted me as the villain to aunts, uncles, friends. My parents probably had a lecture about maturing or being responsible. But this time, I wouldn't budge. Paris had shown me I could live without their approval. When I landed in Seattle, the cold air hit my face. Ryan gave me a hug before we parted ways. "You've got this," he said. I took an Uber home. During the ride, I checked my phone. More messages from Melissa. "I can't believe you made this public. You're destroying the family." My parents, too. "Come home now. We need to talk." No apologies, no acknowledgement of what they did, just demands. I arrived at the house at dusk. Before going in, I froze. My suitcases were stacked by the door like trash. My heart skipped, not from shock, but from clarity. This was what they did when they couldn't control me, punish me. I opened the door. My parents stood in the hallway, arms crossed. Melissa sat on the couch, staring at her phone with that offended queen expression she always used. "What's this?" I said, pointing at the suitcases. My mom spoke first. In that tone she used to make me feel like a child. "If you don't apologize, you can't stay here. What you did was unacceptable, Mateo. You canceled our trip, humiliated your sister online. What were you thinking?" My dad nodded. "Always so selfish. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us." I looked at them, waiting for that old urge to please them, to fix things. It didn't come. Instead, I felt rage and strength. "Everything you've done for me?" I said, almost laughing. I've paid half the bills in this house for years. Groceries, internet repairs. I planned the trip, paid for it with my money, and you left me at the airport. You laughed. Melissa said she assumed I'd cancel, and now I'm the selfish one. Melissa looked up with that smile. You always make a drama out of everything, Mateo. It was a mistake. Not a big deal. But you had to ruin everything as usual. That was it. Something in me broke, but not like at the airport. This time it wasn't pain, it was resolve. No, I said, looking her in the eyes. I'm not apologizing. I'm done carrying everything while you treat me like nothing. I paid for a trip you excluded me from. You left me behind and laughed. And now you're kicking me out? Fine. I'm gone. My mom stepped forward, like she wanted to stop me. Mateo, don't be ridiculous. This is your home. But her voice lacked conviction. They knew I wasn't bluffing. I grabbed my suitcases and walked to the door. My dad shouted something about growing up, but I didn't listen. I got into the Uber still waiting and told the driver to take me to Ryan's. On the way, I called Ryan and told him, "Stay with me as long as you need," he said. "And man, I'm proud of you." That night, on Ryan's couch, I felt a strange calm. Not happiness yet, but peace. For the first time, I wasn't chasing my family, trying to earn a place. I'd chosen to leave, and that made me free. In the days that followed, I started rebuilding my life. I found a small apartment in downtown Seattle. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I signed a lease with money I'd saved from freelancing. I took on more projects, some bigger than before. I started hanging out with new friends, people I met at design events who didn't know my family or my past. With them, I didn't have to prove anything. I was just Mateo. My family didn't give up easily. Melissa sent messages saying I overreacted, that I should come back and fix things. My parents, too, with their usual "when you mature, you'll come back" tone. I ignored them. I blocked their numbers. It wasn't hate. I just didn't need them anymore. I'd spent years seeking their approval, only to feel invisible. I was done with that. My Instagram posts kept making waves. It got shared on Reddit, and suddenly I had messages from strangers sharing their stories, siblings who overshadowed them, parents who ignored them, families who made them feel less. "Keep going," they wrote. "You're worth more." Each message was like a brick in the wall I was building, protecting me from my past. One day, over coffee with Ryan, I got a message from Sarah. "Mateo, I'm on your side," she wrote. "I always knew how they treated you. If you need anything, I'm here." I thanked her. Sarah was the only family member who didn't turn her back on me. She invited me to her place for Thanksgiving, and though I wasn't ready to reconnect with family, I knew I would someday on my terms. Months later, I heard through a mutual friend that Melissa tried another Hawaii trip with her friends. Without my card, they couldn't afford a resort like the one I booked. They ended up in a cheap hotel, and apparently Melissa complained nonstop. My parents, meanwhile, struggled with household bills. Without my money, things got tight. Part of me felt a twinge of guilt, but it faded fast. They'd chosen to treat me the way they did. Now I was choosing my life. I started traveling more. Ryan and I went to Mexico for a weekend, then to New York for a design festival. Each trip reminded me the world was big, that there was more for me than my family's shadow. I also started writing again, something I hadn't done since that childhood contest. Not stories about treasures, but about what I felt, what I'd learned. Maybe I'll publish them someday, maybe not. But they're mine. A year later, I was in my apartment, looking out at Seattle's gray sky. I felt good. My phone buzzed with a message from Ryan. "Hey, Italy next summer?" I smiled and said yes. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing. I wasn't Mateo who carried bags, paid bills, and waited to be seen. I was a Mateo who chose his own path, who lived for himself.